Hey folks, John Kelly, welcome back. Law enforcement life coach with your Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. Hey, Ryan Chartrand sitting down with me today. And Ryan's got such an amazing story and background. Retired Leo, spent some time on the job and transitioned into finances. And he's been in this space really just adding value to people's lives. And it's funny, we've been talking. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on his show. He's a co-founder of the Breaking Badge podcast, and they had me him and his co-host Chad Bruckner had me on, and we talked about a lot of things. And he's about adding value to your life, and he's doing that like he's walking the walk, right? Like he can't stand in front of you and profess certain things for you to do if he's not doing it. And so he's had this epiphany and he's all in, and he's got some exciting news for us. And we're going to sit down and talk about, you name it, man, all things improvement, all things moving forward. And we've already been talking for about 15-20 minutes.
Whatever comes our way, John. I think you hit the name. I'm glad that we practiced it for a couple minutes before we officially started the show.
I had to rewrite it, man. Hey, so without further ado, Ryan, welcome to the show, brother.
John, I can't thank you enough for having me on. I have so much gratitude every time I get to be a guest on someone's show and to share whatever I can and add whatever I can to other people's lives, like you said. And thank you so much for the kind words that you started us off with.
No, man, it's a short list, man. You know, you're very transparent. You're always out there trying to get people to look at a situation a little bit different and providing them with some tools to just be better, man. Constant, never-ending self-improvement, one day, leading into the next. And we were talking. I said, listen, man, we got to stop talking and we got to start this podcast, or we're going to be talking for 2 hours before we figure it out. So for the folks that don't know you, give us a little bit of a background, brother, on how you got to this place, man, because, you and I have been talking over the months and I want to say it's probably over a year now. No?
Yeah. Yep. Over a year.
Right. And so let's get everybody up to speed on Ryan. And so, and then I've got a bunch of questions and I want to dig down and deep on a few things that we've been talking about.
So, man, I'll give everyone those who don't know me the Reader's Digest version. Cool. Or else we'd end up having a 4-hour.
Yeah, podcast. No, man. Yeah, so, no, I don't need to know about your swimming record in high school and
all my life. All I ever wanted to do was be a police officer. I hit that dream at the age of 22 years old. I was still finishing college and I was working as a part-time police officer in my hometown.
Yeah, no, you're from Mass now.
Yeah, yep. I think you're familiar.
Yeah, no,
you're familiar with the town. That you get a nice story about the town that I'm from.
Yeah, man. I like that neck of the woods, bro.
So yeah, small little sleepy town, and they hired part-time police officers and sent us out on patrol with almost no training. Which
sounds about right, man.
Absolutely batshit crazy. You wouldn't see that happening these days. I think.
Oh my goodness.
But we had a gruff old police chief. That guy probably started his policing career in the 1960s.
Okay.
And no word of a lie, he gave me a badge, he gave me a gun, and he gave me the keys to a police car, and he said, "Here you go, sport it, sink or swim."
There you go, man. Figure it out.
And off I went in a police car, 22 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't see a lot of that going on nowadays.
So I ended up, my dream was always to be a police officer in my hometown. I was next to be hired in that town for too long of a time, and then they started laying people off. And so in order to get a full-time position, I ended up packing up my bags, and I transferred to a town about 40 miles northeast, where I worked full-time for 14 years.
Cool.
And which eventually, a lot of things that, we all go through some, the ups and downs of police work when they're there, but ultimately, that all led me out of police work.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll probably get into those. I have dabbled in a few different ventures since I left police work. As you mentioned, John, I worked in the financial services industry for a little while, ultimately deciding that I guess some frustrated. I'm a guy who marches to the beat of my own drum.
Right, man.
So when
Yeah.
you're working for a financial firm, you don't necessarily have the freedom to talk about everything that you want to talk about and tell the truth about stuff because of regulations and all of that. And ultimately, I decided that the financial services industry as a whole is not set up to help the people that I wanted to help. It is set up to chase rich people.
Right.
So what I love doing, I could not feed my family doing. Um, to make it in that industry, you got to either manage a whole bunch of money or you're gonna be selling a whole lot of insurance, which neither I wanted to do. I wanted to be teaching people. And
Time for a change.
yes. So I've been out there kind of chasing money for a little while, trying, and I realized that was a fault. I realized that I was basing my feelings for success off of strictly financial success and not actual fulfillment. So I made the decision. I said I am working for myself. I am
Can I
building
stop
my
you? Can I
Yeah,
stop you?
absolutely.
I I want everybody to listen to what you just said, man, because you know you had this idea of what success was, right? Because it's kind of programmed into us, like and I think that a lot of people want to project success with the fancy this, the fancy that, and um, but it was you said fulfillment, being fulfilled. Maybe that's the new measure, and
Yeah.
so the you weren't bringing in tons of money, and that was at some point in our lives a measure of success, and then it
Yeah.
shifted, it changed.
So I've always had a passion to, and I think, back from the very beginning, we have a passion to help people. That's why we're police officers.
100%.
And I think so much of it is finding out how we can best serve people.
Right.
And my passion is ever since I can remember being a kid, just having a passion for just motivation, being excited and loving life. And my passion has been to spread that to other people, to help other people lead lives that they're happy and fulfilled. However, I believed that I needed to have a certain level of success, which I deemed as financial success, in some other avenue in order to be worthy of coaching other people on being happy. And what I realized is, wait a second, being money does not equal
Got
happiness.
the cart before the horse, brother, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, John, it was like a freaking epiphany to
Yeah,
me when
one
I
does not
had that.
equate to the other. You're right.
I
Yeah.
was like, wait a second, I do have a lot of value that I can share with other people without being a millionaire in another industry and then coming into this sphere.
That's the misconception, that wealthy people are happy, and they have they and because of their wealth, they are in a better position to add value, not monetary, by the way, but add value, because
Right.
whatever they're doing. I know a lot of people, unfortunately, that are wealthy that are miserable,
Oh boy.
miserable, right? So we can uh, rule out that cause and effect. We can pretty much unequivocally say that you know money, having a lot of money, doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy or you're in a position to show people or guide people to being their best selves.
Exactly. Big thing now up in my area is they're sharing all the salaries that the cops have made.
Oh, they've been doing that for years down in
the
Florida.
last year. And there's guys that I worked with in my career,
Yeah,
and they're making almost $200,000 a year.
right.
Now, John, you work the job.
Yeah, yeah,
I work that job. I know what base pay is, and I
right.
know what the overtime rate is.
Yeah.
So I can do the calculation and put how many hours they're spending in a uniform versus at home.
7 days a week, man. 7 days a week.
7 days a week, and not for 8-hour shifts either.
No, 7 days a week. You're looking at 70 hours a week,
Yeah.
easily. And
Yeah.
why do I know that? I was one of those guys.
I was too.
Yeah. And so that's great. That's great. But at what expense?
Yeah.
What are we missing? What are we not, what soccer games are we not attending?
Yeah.
What recitals are we having our spouse videotape for us?
Yeah.
We're missing opportunities that we really can't get back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, we only get one ride on this rock, John. And when we go up to meet the higher power, people aren't going to be remembering us at our funeral and everything for, boy, he had a shit ton of money.
It's
he had an awesome car.
Yeah, I think, it's, we've got to have balance, right? We've got to have balance, because we get to a point, I think, where in order to keep the train on the tracks, we feel like we've got to keep pushing in a certain direction. But with that, I think we use that a lot, I think, as a default to not do the hard work of being present for those people in our lives. So, like, it may start off like, hey, I'm working all these extra hours because I want to pay the mortgage down. I want to do this. I want to get the kids through school. I want to pay. But then it becomes like, well, if I'm not at work, I got to be at home. But if I'm at home, home's tough, man. Home, I got to have conversations at home. I've got to be dad at home. I've got to be a husband at home. I'd rather just at times, I'd rather just be a provider and be at work the whole time and let my other half figure that shit out at the house. And I think that's a situation that I think develops over time that ends up really kicking us in the ass. What do you think about that?
Man, I can't personally attest to that. For me, I saw the effects of that from other people. I definitely changed my mindset when the kids came along, that I would arrange my schedule around spending time with the kids, being involved with the kids, being a coach. Of course, this thing, we miss games. You're going to, there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to miss games. You're going to lose out on that stuff. But, even when my second son was born, I'd been working a split shift, which was 2 midnights and 2 evenings a week. I've been doing that for a while. When my second son was born, I said, I need to live like a normal person and not be on an overnight shift for a little while.
Right.
And I switched to the evening shift, which I knew was going to take time away from seeing my boys if they were away during the day. So we implemented what was called Daddy Day.
Yeah.
And there were 2 days a week that they stayed home with me, and we did the kid exchange in the police park, in the station parking lot in the afternoon. But it allowed me that time to connect with my boys, be a father to my boys, spend that time with them. Those are days that I still treasure to this day, now that my kids are older.
You figured it out, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That was something that I always wanted to make sure that I was involved as much as I could in their lives. I never wanted to get away from that.
And that's when you started that, when you realized that, it sounds like you never fell into that trap, bro.
As far as I always wanted to be home more than I wanted to be at work.
All right. Good.
No, I'm not going to say that I wouldn't have rather been like in the garage working on my car, or being out mowing the lawn with headphones on at times. I'm not going to say that.
But
that
you're still home, though. You're still home. You're still in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So you about 18 years total on the
18 years
job.
total. Yeah.
And then you went the finance route, and that was not a lot. It wasn't something that you were passionate about. It was something that you did, right?
I was definitely passionate about it.
Oh, okay.
I was passionate about what I could help people with.
Right.
Um, but I did not like the sales aspect of it
Gotcha.
as far as making money.
Gotcha.
You know, that in order to, in order to actually make money, you had to sell someone a product in that
Gotcha.
industry. And it was not what I was passionate about was how much learning to take care of my finances changed life for me as a police officer.
Gotcha.
I learned how to manage my finances, and all of a sudden I was once I figured everything out, built my own financial plan, I put myself in a situation, John, where I did not have to work overtime to make ends meet.
How about that?
My base pay paid the bills. If I got overtime, that was just cake. It
Right.
was if I worked overtime, I actually had it divided up. So if I worked, it was about, you could average, you'd bring home about $300 from working an overtime shift.
Yeah.
And I would put $100 in my investment account. $100 would be for spending money, for fun money, and $100 would go towards like extra towards like a car payment or
Sure.
school loan or something like that.
You are like Yogi. You are smarter than the average bear. That's
I'll tell you, it did not come with it. People looked at me like I was crazy.
no. I just think that, I mean, that's your experience and your insight is not common. It's not common because there's nobody that I worked with that put themselves in a position financially that their base salary would have been enough to sustain them. And so we made decisions that forced us to have to work overtime, to have to work details. There was no surplus. It was everybody was chasing it and raising their standard of living beyond where it should have been.
Yeah. And
one thing
that always stood out is that, and even, people outside of law enforcement would laugh. They would look and they would say, why is it it looks like it is a contest for who has the newest, biggest pickup truck in the parking lot.
Yeah, right.
If someone got a new one, someone else had to get a bigger, more expensive one. To the point where, John, I had one of my coworkers approach me in the parking lot at work. He said, Ryan, you having a tough time with money? I said, no, why? He said, well, why don't you get a new truck? I said, because there's nothing wrong with that one.
I don't need a new truck. Yeah.
He's like, but what's the oldest one? I don't think he said, I had the oldest truck in the parking lot. Yeah. He's like, oh, he kind of looked at me funny. I go, do you know how much my monthly payment on that truck is? He goes, how much? I said, $0.
Yeah, no doubt.
The thing's been paid for 2 years.
Yeah, I can put my money in my 457. I can put it here. I can put it towards a family vacation. I can do all these great things.
Yeah, I just that was one thing I never understood. It seemed like it was that and it was always then when everyone had the brand new Denali, then it was
hey, go easy with the guys that own Denali's, all right? Fucking talking about me now. Jesus, turning into a butcher job. You're killing me. No, bro, it's everybody knows what they should do, but they don't. You know what you should do, and you do. See, that's the difference, man. Everybody knows that they should eat a certain way. Everybody knows that they should live a certain lifestyle. Everybody knows, but very few people actually do the work and do what they're supposed to do. And that's across the board, whether it's with finance, personal growth and development. Listen, there's no shortage of information out there. If you want to learn how to lose weight, I mean, good God, you go to YouTube, go on any social media platform and put any search in. You're going to find somebody doing an exercise that you didn't think of, and they're going to show you how to do it.
And I think even, along that we overthink so much too. And what's the, simple, not easy.
Right. Exactly. Simple,
not easy.
Not easy. So moving through finance, you had this epiphany that, you know what? I got to almost kind of like I don't want to put words in your mouth, man, but kind of getting back to your roots of helping people, adding value to people on a different level.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
That was, that's what I loved about financial services is I got into it to add value, to help. And like I said, as far as making a decent income out of it, you had to sell them a product.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm helping them in the way that they need it.
Right.
And I want to be able to help them.
So
and it was an inauthenticity there.
So, and you're a very authentic kind of guy. So
unapologetically authentic. I think that's maybe
that's what makes you man.
Some way, but
that's what makes you, and that's what I love about you. So where does that bring you now? Talk to me.
So I've started my company, John. It's called Unbreakable Mindset.
Unbreakable. Tell me about Unbreakable Mindset, brother.
So, as I said, I was at a point where I believed in order to be able to help people as far as coaching them and guiding them and even speaking to audiences, I believed that I needed a certain amount of financial success.
Right.
And another thing that I realized, John, was that when I thought about it, I couldn't define it. What type of financial success do you need to be able to feel like you're worthy of doing that? It was a blank. I'm like, I don't know. And that really gets you thinking. And then, so I started thinking and I said, what? And this was on, I don't know if I already said it on the show or if this was before, John. One thing I do is, we talked a little bit about fitness. For fitness, all you got to do is get yourself out for a 30 or 45-minute walk, man, and it is going to do so much for your health and wellness.
Right.
It's unbelievable. But John, I go out and I walk. I walk for about 45 minutes, usually about 3 miles.
Yep.
Or so, about 45, 50 minutes. I don't listen to any music. I don't listen to any podcasts. I just let my mind go and unravel, and I work through things that are going on in my head. So I asked myself, I said, what have you been successful with? And I said, dude, you left behind a career that no longer fulfilled you, that you were miserable at, that everyone told you were freaking nuts to leave, but you did it anyway because you were unhappy there and you weren't going to live a life that you were unhappy with. I said, and life
that in and of itself is a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. And then since then, as I have tried and worked to, because it hasn't been, it hasn't been devastating, but it's been a rocky road. It doesn't go smoothly. You got to figure a lot of shit out.
Figure it out, man.
On your own.
Gotta figure it out, man.
Like we have and everything. And I've built this mindset of that, you know what? I love every day getting to go out there and figure it out.
Right.
It's awesome. It's just filled me with excitement. It's filled me with passion that I go out there every day working to figure it out, working to make myself better in every possible way that I can. I said, my biggest success is that every punch and blow that life has given me for the last 3 years, I have taken, I've absorbed it, I've worked around it. I have not, John, one incredible thing that I absolutely love is whatever wants to throw a blow at me, John, I might be upset for a little bit.
Right.
But I get over it. I find a solution and I move on. I said, my biggest success is that I have created over the last several years, I've created an unbreakable mindset.
Not easily done.
And my company was born.
Yeah. Not easily done. And now that you've figured some things out, you're not keeping that stuff a secret.
No, and you know what it is? You know what it is, John? It is, I feel like all of a sudden, I feel like I have been kind of dabbling and kind of kind of hiding, not feeling I was worthy of doing what I was truly put on this earth to do. And it is like, as soon as I made that decision, as soon as I made that realization, it is like a weight was lifted off of me. And all of a sudden I can go out there and just unapologetically be myself, be who I am, share with the world. And I don't care anymore. I'm going, and I'm so excited.
That's, you know what? I think that's the difference between people that stand on the sidelines and watch and the people that jump in the game.
Yeah.
And everybody has a first day. Like, I think we forget that, somehow when we see people out there making an impact, we just see them on the stage. We don't see the years and the hours that's put into the struggle to get to where they're at. You don't, when you see a star athlete, you don't see all the late nights, on drills and in the weight room. And you just see that Sunday, that performance. And I think once you realize that the only difference between you and them is what you putting in the work and you going for it, because they were in the exact same position you were in 3 years ago. And so you start telling yourself a story that doesn't exist. Like, oh, look at them. I'm not that guy. And well, that guy had the same conversation in his mind 3 years ago before he became that person, and I think that, there's, one successful trait of all people at that level that are making an impact in other people's lives is that they believed in themselves. And that's that epiphany, man, that where you're at, you believe in you. And guess what? I can't believe in you if you don't believe in you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? So how the hell is that going to work? So you believing in you, man, is an exciting thing. And when you believe in you, great things are possible. Great things are possible. And I'm glad that you turned the corner on it, man. And you decided to become laser focused on the Unbreakable Mindset program here. So talk to me about Unbreakable Mindset.
Well, really, where we want to start is, I think so many people can relate to 3 words. And I think so many times in life we feel stuck, we feel unhappy, and we feel unfulfilled. And I did a lot of thinking about, right, what leads us there. Right. I think when we're kids, we build this dream. We have this vision for what life is going to look like when we're adults. I think that grows as we get older and we graduate high school. And, even starting in high school, life's going to start to punch us in the face a little bit.
Sure.
We're going to graduate high school and we have this whole exciting life and world that's going to open up to us and everything. We have this vision of what we're going to go accomplish and everything like that. Get out of high school, maybe we go through, we might go to college, we might not. But I'll tell you what, once we get into our 20s, life's going to start punching us in the freaking face. Yeah, and I think we get to a point where we don't realize how hard it's going to be. And life beats the crap out of us. And we settle for what we think life is given to us. And we give up on that childhood dream, which leaves us with those 3 words. We're stuck, we're unhappy, and we're unfulfilled because we've completely forgot and disconnected with what we wanted our lives to be like when we were kids, which is what fueled that excitement that we had for life. What if we could bring that belief back, John? What if we could reconnect with that dream? Or even maybe it's not the same, but what if we can build a new and bigger dream of what our life is going to be like? Build a why back into our life. What do we want our life to look like? And why? Why? One thing, that why is another thing that has become so strong for me. And like, I don't think I had that for a while. And I said, why do I do everything that I do? Number one, I want to be the example for my two sons that I am raising, because they're going to be the next generation of our world. And I want to be an example to build them into magnificent people for our country.
Right.
And I said, well, if I'm going to do that for my boys, why can't I do that and be an example and live an example of just pursuit of personal excellence for everybody?
That's, and I think unfortunately a lot of us lose that why over time. And we
Yeah.
just, like you
And
said, you just exist, with no real purpose. It's just, whether it's complacency or you've been taking the shots and you've been beaten into submission over the years, that
yeah,
you lose that. Well, what I really, you ever ask somebody, what do if you could have any job in the world, what would it be? And my dream job, I wanted to be a pilot, right? I mean, I fly around, man. And so what I when I had some free time, believe it or not, back in the 90s, I went and took flying lessons
nice.
because, I it was that nagging thing that I always wanted to do that no, I'm not a commercial pilot. I don't, but I soloed around the state in a helicopter and all that good stuff. But it
Nice.
was like a bucket list thing, right? It was like, it wasn't so passionate that I wanted to leave my current job and go off and do that. But it was just something that I wanted to do. And I think people, when they have a dream or a goal or something that they want, if they don't stay connected to that why,
Yeah.
life's not going to hand it to you. You got to go and take it. You got to
Yep.
grab it. And having somebody in your corner, maybe asking the right questions,
Yeah.
and getting you thinking about some things that maybe you haven't. That's an awesome position for you to be in.
And John, I look back and I say, how would my career have been different if I guess I hit my goal, but I didn't have a why, and then I never hit a bigger goal. So in my law enforcement career, I became stagnant. I
Hmm.
lost I lost touch with that dream of what I wanted my career to look like.
Right.
I disconnected from that,
Sure.
and I lost my why for why I was there. And it's a culture thing. A lot of it, we touched a little bit
Sure.
on that, is because the culture was my why became making as much money as possible by working all the overtime I could. It
Right.
was not being the best police officer that I could be.
Right. And
So
so,
imagine if we
sure.
could take, I know there's a lot of law enforcement officers that listen to this. Imagine if we can reconnect with our why for why we wanted to become police officers in the first place,
Yeah.
and
No,
start
definitely.
implementing that into our career.
Yeah. Adding value to our own lives before we add value to others.
It's just like you said, you wanted to be a pilot, right? What's the oxygen mask in the
Yeah,
plane? What do they tell
man.
you? You got to put your own
Yeah.
oxygen
Taking care
mask
of
on
yourself.
first.
I think that's it's so often overlooked, man, is that, we spend an entirety of a career taking care of others, but, we don't even know why we're doing it. We don't even know, we couldn't answer what makes us happy. We're
Yeah.
so removed and disassociated from, like, what do you look forward to doing? What makes you happy? Uh, You know, you ask somebody that question, there might be a long pause there.
Yeah.
You ask me what makes me happy, I'm going to rattle off a dozen things, because but that hasn't always been the case,
Yeah.
right? You say, shit, I don't know, I don't do anything else but work. I don't know what would make, uh, you got people that are stumped and dumbfounded, so they've certainly lost their why, and and what they need to be doing to take better care of themselves, which in turn really makes life better for everybody around them.
Yeah. Yep.
So with the unbreakable mindset and your tenants there, um, getting into the coaching space and just basically elevating the life of people and adding value of people around you. But I like your approach is that you can't be that guy for them if you're not that guy for you.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we see it in so many different ways. I mean, all the way down to there's a lot of stuff you see the videos of police officers that can't handle themselves on the job
Right.
because they're not taking care of themselves.
Right. So a big component of this framework of this initiative is really first, not first and foremost, but physical wellness, physical and mental wellness, first and foremost.
Physical fitness is the cornerstone to everything in your entire life.
Yeah.
And when I talk physical fitness, I don't want, I'm not talking about being a gym rat and you spend hours upon hours in the gym every day.
Not
I do
necessary.
not go to the gym. I work
Right.
out. I work out at home and I go
Sure.
out and I jog and I walk and I lift weights. I lift weights at home. I do, workouts that fulfill me and keep me healthy.
Right.
And when I started focusing on doing workouts that keep me healthy, inevitably I started being able to lift more weights without hurting myself.
How about that?
That's for another thing. The fitness is the cornerstone because it takes care of so many things. Number one, discipline, John. Discipline, because you're making yourself do something hard that is easy to say not today and sit down with a beer and a bag of potato chips or something
Right.
and binge on Netflix or whatever you want to do to
Right.
relax,
No doubt.
rather than go outside and go for a 45-minute walk, which is health, mind,
Yeah.
so much all encompassing, but it builds that discipline and so you say, I'm going to implement physical fitness into my life. And then you do it. You are now building self-belief in yourself because you're doing something that you said you're going to do. You're
Right.
building your body and your mind and your confidence. And you're starting, if you work out in the morning, you're starting your day with a win. You're starting your whole day with a win under your belt for doing what you said you were going to do. All of that just comes together to start building you up in so many different aspects of your life.
You made yourself a priority right out of the gate.
But in doing so,
Yeah.
you're bettering yourself for other people.
100%. How awesome is that? And notice I like the fact that you said discipline. Listen, motivation is great. I'm rarely motivated to do anything. Motivation, I think is overrated. It's having the discipline, right? The discipline to do the workout. You may not be motivated to do it, but if you have discipline, motivation's going to wane. You might be motivated initially at the start of something new, but having the discipline was what you're hitting on to the follow through for what you're doing. Like, this isn't some quick fix I'm hearing, Ryan. This is a sustainable, long-term
It's a
lifestyle of constant, never-ending self-improvement.
Yes.
You making you a priority in all the right ways.
And yeah, I mean, it's not, I think a lot of people may think that sounds selfish, but you're building yourself to be better for everyone, whether it's your job, the public, your family. You're building your mind to be, you're going to be the leader of your family. If you're going to be a leader, say you're a supervisor on the job, you're a leader of those men. Those men look up to you. What example are you setting? You're doing it. You're taking care of yourself so that you can be the best that you can for other people.
Sure. No, and that's and in doing so, not only you're setting the right example, but there's a real benefit that you're the recipient of, real time.
I mean, it's all encompassing. It is there's no negative about it. And like I said, you don't have to go run 10 miles. You don't have to go to the gym and lift weights for hours. you can get up and you can go for a 3-mile walk in the morning.
Right. And that's significant. That's significant. Functional fitness, right? Functional
Yes.
fitness. Functional fitness adds value to your life.
110%. I mean, I'd even say functional fitness is imperative.
Right. No doubt. And I like that you said, you could go for a walk, because, it's not about joining the CrossFit gym. It's not about, having to ice your knees and cold plunge after every workout. It's, we're talking
Exactly.
about, we want it to be sustainable. We don't want you to hurt yourself. We want you to get going in a good way. And when you start taking care of your body, you start taking care of your mind. There's a
Yes. And
direct link right there, right?
that's
Don't
what
need to
it's
be a
about.
neuroscientist to walk
It's
down
not
that
about
road.
it's not about running a marathon. It's not about being doing a strongman contest or whatever. It's about
Right.
taking care of yourself.
Right. Constant, never-ending self-improvement. Hey, so with that component, that physical component, what else do you like to focus on, Ryan?
Building the mind. So I have a hashtag. Actually, I got it on my shirt right here. It's build your body, build your mind.
Love it.
And I would say those two things are the cornerstone for building the life that you want. So as well, along with building your body and working on your physical fitness,
Right.
you got to build your mind too. You've got to develop your mind. You've got to be reading the right things. For so long in my life, John, I used to say reading was a waste of my time. And I look back and there's so much when I was a police officer, there's so much reading that I could have done that would have benefited my career.
Right.
So many books that I have read since I have left law enforcement would have been amazing books to have read while I was a police officer. There's
Sure.
so many things. It expands your ideas. It expands your realm of knowledge. It makes you a better officer, but also maybe there are things you want to explore outside of law enforcement. There's a book.
Right.
There's a book for it.
Sure. And what role do you think that self-talk, the stories you tell your own mind, does that play in the mental health of you?
Oh, 150%, John. 150%. So, when we always, as a police officer, sergeant's test came up. And I definitely was not ready to be a sergeant, but I took the sergeant's test. They have all these books that they want you to read that really have nothing to do with law enforcement or how good you'll be of a sergeant, but they just need a way to give a test so they can promote, quote, fairly. Right. I didn't read a page of any of those books. I went in, I failed that test miserably.
Right.
And for pretty much for a long time of my career, probably the next 8-9 years, I said, screw that test. The test is stupid. I'm never going to pass. I'm not a test taker. Screw the state. The state's stupid. That's stupid and everything. No wonder why I failed the freaking test, John. Imagine if I said, you know what? A test was hard. However, if I study and I read the books and I put in the same amount of work that all the people that passed the test did, I'm probably going to pass the test and get promoted.
Yeah. How about that? How about if you just change the narrative in your head?
Yeah.
It changes.
For years, I told myself that I was not a good test taker and that I would never pass that test because I'm not a good test taker and I couldn't read all of those books. And you know when I proved myself wrong, John? When I got started part-time in the financial services industry, and I had to get licensed to sell securities, and I put in the effort and I studied, and I passed all of those tests my first time around.
Series 7, whatever. Those are huge. Those are ridiculous books that need to be read.
Passed them with flying colors my first time around.
No joke. Yeah, no. Crazy.
I said, imagine if I had put that effort and had that mindset in the sergeant's test.
Yeah, it's what we tell ourselves, man. That I forget somebody. I don't know the source, but that's that talk, that self-talk, what we tell ourselves. If we're not talking to ourselves the right way, detrimental, that's an understatement. Getting back to you believing in you.
Yeah.
Like if you don't believe in you, why should I believe in you? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to start. It's got to start with you, man. And a lot of that really is determined by the things you tell yourself. You know, you are good enough.
Yeah.
You are smart enough. You know, you do have the ability to connect and add value, and you do belong in this space. And all those things that, you know, those little whispers in the back of your head, man, if you let them exist for any amount of time, they no longer become whispers and they become a crowd of negative
Yep. Monsters,
shouting monsters that
devils.
keep you from experiencing and fulfilling all that you can be.
And
And
here's the thing, John, that I do want to stress it's very hard, especially in the beginning, is that these changes will not happen overnight.
oh, what do you
I want the
what do you mean
listeners
it
to know
won't
that
happen overnight?
where I am right now,
Oh, this is
this
bullshit. I thought
this
you were gonna this. I mean, I can't just change in a day.
this is the culmination of 6 years of personal
Oh, this
development
is
work
gonna take way too long,
that I
man.
have done.
Oh
So,
my
you know,
god.
this is
Deborah.
daily
Yeah.
work for a long period of time. And it starts with making a decision and starting to recognize.
Yeah.
Because if we learn about it, if we say, I got to be a little more careful about what I'm telling myself inside my head,
Right.
we'll start to recognize that.
Sure.
Because that's how it started for me. I started to recognize that negative talk, sort of recognize it. And then you start to learn strategies to say, wait a second, you start to catch yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You start to catch yourself. And then all of a sudden I started noticing, geez, things that would have made me angry for weeks, I'm now getting over in a couple days. Then it was, things that used to make me angry for a couple days are now a day. Now, things that used to make me angry for a day, I work through in 30 minutes.
Sure. Sure.
And it's all starts with just making that conscious decision that I'm going to be aware of it and I'm going to recognize it and I'm going to start to work on it.
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, I like to, without being overly religious, I love the serenity prayer, right?
Mm.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Wisdom to know the
Yeah,
difference.
I think that starts us mentally in the right space. That, man, we don't have a lot of control over what happens to us, but you know, the folks have heard this a million times. You have control over your response, how you respond to it. And so you can take to heart all the negative talk from the noise in the background. You can let your, you know, that self negative talk eat you up inside, or you can dismiss it, come up with a different mindset and a plan to move forward that benefits you and everybody in your circle.
Yeah. And all you got to do, you start with a commitment to yourself that, you know what, I'm going to start to make note of it.
Right.
I'm going to start to make note when I hear it, and I'm going to start to change.
So for the listener, Ryan, they're listening to this saying, you know what, sounds like Ryan's got some of this shit figured out, man.
Some.
What's some things that I could start doing? You know, I don't like where I'm at, man. I don't like where I'm at mentally, physically, emotionally. I've kind of just been, I've been like a cork, uh, bobber, just floating along, going with the current. And you know, I looked up and I don't like what I see anymore. You know, I want to start change, and I understand that I didn't get this place. I didn't get to this place overnight. I understand it's going to take some time, but I want to I want to be a better version of me,
Mhm.
and I want you to help me. What are some things that you can suggest to the listeners that can start us on that path?
Go down to the store, yourself a 99-cent notebook.
Okay.
Open it up. On that first page, start writing. What am I fed up with that I no longer want to tolerate in my life anymore?
What are the changes I want to make?
Yes. And then flip the page. Once you get all that out, it's almost like when I work with a client, I said, first 5 minutes of the bitch fest, and then we get to work.
Right.
We get it all out. Take your bitch fest. Write everything that you feel is just overwhelming in your life. Because a lot of times when we're at that point, we feel swamped. And a lot of times when you start writing it all out and you put it down on paper, serves two things, serves two purposes. You start to get it out. And then a lot of times when you start writing it all out and you get it all on paper, you get it all out of your head and onto paper, you look at it and you say, not as bad as I thought. Then turn that page. Who do you want to be? What does the ideal version of you, what does the superhero you look like? Every aspect, we get to design that person. Who is he? What does he eat? What does he do? How does he act? What kind of father is he? What kind of husband is he? What kind of police officer is he? What do you want to be? And we got to look at, all right, go back to that first list. What is the most pressing thing here on this list that we need? You can't start solving everything at once. It's not going to happen. What is the most pressing problem that we need to solve right now? And we're going to start with the plan to attack that problem. The number one problem.
But writing it down is crucial.
And the biggest thing is when you make that decision, the next day, you got to start your fitness routine. You got to get out for a walk in the morning.
Right.
In the morning, at night. You got to start that. You got to make a commitment to yourself, whatever amount of time. It can be 10, 15 minutes to go around the block or whatever. You got to make a commitment to yourself. And like we talked about earlier, you're going to start building self-confidence and you start making that commitment to yourself and you start feeling better mentally and physically by starting that fitness routine.
So you write it down, get bullet point the list, bullet point the heck out of what are the issues? Bullet point, next page, how do I want my life to look? Next page, what am I going to do about it? What are the action plans? What am I putting in place to address these? And of all these in the first page, what's the first one I'm going to tackle?
Yeah.
And then and come up with that action plan and start getting to work.
And one of the biggest things is, I think a lot of times we make these decisions that we want to change our life. We want things to change. And we make a plan that involves attacking every single thing and we overwhelm ourselves and we can't keep up with it. And then kaput, we're right back where we started.
Yeah, man.
That's why we got to focus on we can build one habit, implement one change at a time until that becomes your lifestyle.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what happens, man. We get overwhelmed pretty easily when we look at the totality of everything. We're like, oh shit, I want everything. Well, no, it didn't get messed up overnight. Everything's not going to get fixed overnight. Yeah. Pick the priority, get to work, and.
But we can make the decision that we're stepping onto a new path,
new and improved version.
Yep.
Nice. And with that discipline, man, it's going to happen. Hey, there's definitely going to be a part 2 to this, man.
We could go all day.
Yeah, I gotta be mindful.
Even get into the good stuff that I know we like to talk about,
holy
man.
Smokes. If there was something, Ryan, that you could, this is a heavy law enforcement listenership here. If there was something, guys and girls, they're driving into work, man. Maybe they're going home. They're listening to the podcast. What's something you'd like to share with them? Before we wrap up this first in a series of podcasts, something you'd like to tell them?
Man, there's so many things.
Share with them.
One thing that I love is that you have to realize that no matter what path you are on in life, at any point in your life, you're never stuck on that path. You can make the decision to change. However, the path that you've always been on in your life, at every point on that path, you were meant to be there.
Nice, bro. It's about making informed decisions. It's about telling yourself the right things to tell yourself, and it's about being disciplined and taking action.
Yeah.
Now, if some folks want to get in touch with you, Ryan, and they want to have you help them in their journey and maybe coach them up and help them along this path, put some of your information out there for. I'll put everything in the show notes as well. But for the listener, how can we get in touch with you, and how can we have you become part of our solution?
Yeah, the best way is I'm most active on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just under my name, Ryan Chartrand. Search me up, shoot me a connection request, friend request, DM me. Love to have you join the community, and jump on, suck up whatever information you can. The website will be up pretty soon, unbreakable-mindset.com. YouTube channel, again, getting going. Start putting branch out into another one of my out of my comfort zone and get into the video content world.
Why not,
and everything.
man?
Start
Why
branching
not?
into there, and
Constant developing, growing, trying new things, man. I love it.
yeah, it's all about getting out there and sharing and helping other people live a life that they want to live. I think we said at the beginning, you only get one ride on this rock. You gotta enjoy it. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so important. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Chartrand, thank you, brother. It's been awesome, man. I
John,
appreciate you.
I can't thank you enough for inviting me on your show,
Oh,
and giving me this opportunity to have this conversation and everything. And it was so much fun. I mean, I love having you as a part of my network, man. You were an awesome guy, and I love what you're doing.
The feelings are mutual, brother. The feelings are mutual. You have a great rest of your day, brother.
You too.
All right. And that's a